Welcome to Commander Pop Culture, a place to gather magical information with some laughs, might I add. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fallout Spoilers. This is day one, so you're all here to hear my thoughts on them. Everyone, hope you enjoy. First off, we got Vandal Blast. This card really reminds me of Jim Carrey's The Mask.
Ice this deadbeat!
I don't think this card comes even close to conveying Vandal Blast. I mean, I don't know, maybe the little items on the shelves are getting destroyed, but is it better than the full art from Commander Masters? I think so. Well rested. This card seems like a nice aura for Tim decks where you're all about tapping and untapping your own stuff. So like it pairs well with Seedborn Muse and Awakening. It makes your Tims a little bit bigger because you get to put 2 counters on it, gaining 2 life and drawing a card. The art's kind of funny. The bed's just out in the middle of nowhere, and the alarm clock is a bunch of raiders coming in to, I imagine, kill you. Grim Reaper Sprint. Morbid. Costs 3 less if something died. On ETB, you get to untap all your creatures, and if it's your main phase, you get additional combat, and then an enchanted creature gets +2/+2 in haste. That's pretty sick. So if anything dies in your first combat, you play this main phase 2, get an additional one. Just be careful, because once this bonus combat ends, you go straight to end step, because it doesn't give you a bonus main phase. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking you'll have room to play with on the back end, you don't. Blasphemous Act is getting a reprint, although this says Megaton's Fate, and it's not Megaton's Fate, obviously, but yeah, clicking it doesn't do anything, so maybe we'll actually get the spoiler for that. Inventory Management has split second. For each aura and equipment you control, you may attach it to a creature you control. That's pretty sick. I get the flavor because you could literally stop time in the game to, do the wheel of weapons, which is basically what's going on right here. She's sitting down and the entire inventory is in a circle around her, just like the weapon wheel. Strong Back. For 3 mana, equip abilities and aura spells that target this cost 3 less to activate. It's pretty dope. And then enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment. I love mixing and matching auras and equipment. You get the best of both worlds for the Voltron strategy, and you're not forced to be pigeonholed. I love that Wizards keeps making cards like these. I hope they keep doing it, but it really lends itself to the Voltron strategy, so it makes everything cheaper to target a single thing. Kate, the Cage Brawler. If it's your turn, it's indestructible. Whenever it attacks you and the player that's defending each draw card, you put 2 counters on Kate if you discard a card with the highest mana value among cards, or tied for the highest. It's like a clash effect, where each of you discard a card, and then if you have the higher of the discard, you win, and you get to put the 2 counters on it. Interesting card. It's a bummer, because I feel like this card's not going to get the play it deserves. It's an interesting card. Clash as a mechanic we haven't seen in a while. Outcast of the Brotherhood. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose one. Return target aura or equipment with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a shield counter on target creature. I love these 3 or less stipulations, because mostly in competitive decks, you're not playing very expensive cards, so 3 mana or less is more than enough to get the job done. Get your sword, put it back on. Gunner Recruit. Has trample, it's a 2/2 for 2 mana. Get +1/+1 for each aura and equipment on it. When it dies, if it was enchanted, create a junk token. If it dies, if equipped, create a junk token. Okay. It's kind of nice. Scales up on top of scaling up from your auras and equipment. Codsworth's Handy Helper.
Charles Dickens walks into a bar and orders a martini. The bartender turns to him and asks, olive or twist?
Commanders you control have Ward 2. Tap it for double white to cast auras or equipments, or you could tap it to attach an aura or equipment you control. Oh, but it says sorcery, so it's not that great. Never mind. Almost a decent card on that bottom ability, but I mean, it's still decent. Like, you get to give Ward to your commander because he's a helper, then kind of does everything else that you want to help you with auras and equipment. It's just a little sluggish. Like, the activated sorcery speed, if it was put on the other tap ability, you wouldn't care so much. Warrior Brown, Survival Guide Author, 3 mana 2/3. When it enters, Create a colorless equipment artifact named Wasteland Survival Guide. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each quest counter on permanents you control. And equip a cost of 1. Whenever you attack, put a quest counter on target non-land permanent you control. It scales up, but it's a little sluggish. So like once you make the survival guide, it gives you nothing because you don't start putting quest counters on until after you attack. Maybe there'll be other support for this, but on its own, it's not that impactful. Terramorphic reprint, Sunscorch reprint, Path of Ancestry, Overflowing Basin. Wait, has there always been an Overflowing Basin? I don't remember. Oh, these are brand new, I think. Hold on. I have to look this up. They haven't completed the cycle for these lands. Yeah, this is the first iteration. That's pretty dope. I hope they finish it. That's really nice. I actually got lectured about these lands on Reddit. People say they're clunky, and it's true. In the early game, they are clunky, but in the mid to late game, they're perfectly fine. They're really budget-friendly lands. I play the blue-white one all the time, and the other ones that are currently printed, and I don't have any issues with them. Since I build decks on a budget, I have lots and lots of experience with these types of lands, so I'm pretty excited that they're making these. This is the red-white one, this is the blue-green one. I almost kind of blew over that. I thought that was nothing new. Ferris Lake, this is the red-blue one. Veronica, Dissident Scribe.
Fickle, impulsive, spontaneous.
Minache, whenever it attacks, you discard a card. If you do draw, whenever you discard one or more non-land cards for the first time each turn, create a junk token. I love junk tokens. I love impulse effects in general. Like, sure, you have to follow timing restrictions, but the more competitive, the lower CMC you're playing, it almost doesn't matter. And since it says play, you could even play lands off this. Just when you are playing impulse effects, you gotta exercise some restraint. Don't play your land from your hand until you do your impulse effect first. Just so, in case you hit a land off of it, you get full value from it. Junk Jet. Enter the battlefield, create a junk token, and then get the sacrifice another artifact to double equip creature's power till end of turn. Holy cow. For an equip cost of 1, that's pretty sick. I love doubling power. It's pretty significant, especially in EDH. There's not a lot of things that do double power. You got two-handed battle axe and, Xenagos. Just off the top of my head, I think there's single-digit cards in existence that double power, and things that care about power appreciate these kinds of cards, so pretty cool. Desolate Mire, so we've seen 5. I think it's safe to assume they're going to complete the cycle. Long overdue Wizards. I think those were originally printed back in Odyssey, so years in the making this should have happened, but here we are now. Unfortunately, they're rare, and this is only going to be in the Fallout products. I'm curious if they'll even be budget in paper, because there's so few of them in existence. Silver Shroud Costume. Enters, attach it to target creature control, it gains Shroud till end of turn, and then an equipped creature can't be blocked. Kind of nice for 2 mana with Flash. You get to auto-equip it. Like swapping out weapons instantaneously with the load wheel, you could swap out gear from your pause menu. Ian the Reckless. When it attacks, if it's modified, you may have it deal damage equal its power to you and any target. Ooh. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I don't know how I feel about that. Since it hurts yourself, I think your magical keyword with this will be lifelink. Animal Friend. Enchanted creatures, whenever this attacks, create a 1/1 squirrel token. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each aura and equipment attached to this creature, other than the Animal Friend. So you make scaling squirrels based on how many things you souped up on your Voltron creature. It also happens the turn you play it, so I could respect that for the cheapness of it. It's not bad. Holy cow, Ravage of the War. For those of you who hate mass land destruction, I'm sorry, but this will probably be the cheapest iteration of this card. Yeah, holy cow, this is a really great reprint. I have the Portal, or the Judge promo one, so that'll be a nice penny for me to trade up. I get a cheaper one, make, I don't know, maybe $50 back. Depends on what this is going to go for. It's getting a full art treatment, and it's in Fallout, so maybe copies will be scarce. People will go apeshit over Fallout and full art anything. Like me. War Room, excellent. Playing cards with the boys. Ooh, Tarmogoyf's getting a reprint. I love these monitor versions of the cards. It's really cool. If you don't know what Tarmogoyf does, its power and toughness scales based on the card types in your graveyard. Oh, it's all graveyard, so it's even stronger than I originally remembered it. I don't know if Tarmogoyf even gets played anymore in nowadays in like 60-card formats. That's the ridiculousness of power creep in Magic, but maybe Jund still plays it. Yeah, you get a copy for as cheap as $7. So I remember when they were going for 50.
Not anymore, I'm not.
Nah. This version's still a lot cooler though. Ruinous Ultimatum's getting a reprint. Powder Gang. The squad, when it enters battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact. I don't know, that is 5 mana to blow up 2 artifacts, and it grows with each copy you make. At least they're bodies too, so you have something to block or attack with. Not the best, not the worst either, but I'd rather play Vandal Blast or other cheaper single target removal stuff. Guardian Project's getting a reprint. Nuclear Fallout, this is new. Double black and X. Each creature gets twice -X until end of turn. Each player gets X rad counters. Oh yes. I'll play this in my my new Massacre Girl list. I have the deck full of just stat decreasers, and this fits that quite nicely. It's a win condition because of the rad counters. If you don't remember what rad does, for each counter, people mill on their turn, and then you lose life based on the non-land cards milled. So you put everyone on a clock. Hopefully you don't have the least life, so you could kill yourself. Hancock Ghoulish Mayor. Each other creature you control that's a zombie or meme gets +X/+X for X number of counters on Hancock. Interesting, it doesn't care what type of counter, so you could put like, I don't know, shield counters, vigilance counters, all the weird stuff, and it still counts towards the Anthem effect. But on its own, at least it's on the right rate. 3 mana Lord. Solemn's getting a reprint. I don't know, take your pick of what you like the most. There's a lot of cool Solemn arts out there. I personally like the one from the Secret Lair where it's like Hideo Kojima style Metal Gear Solid stuff. Mechanized Production. It's a win condition if you have 8 or more copies of the same artifacts. You win on, I think it's Upkeep. Hard to do. I've never lost to a Mechanized Production setup, but it's very possible, especially with like Treasure. You could already have 8 in play and then play this and be like, all right, everyone, you have a turn to deal with this. Yes Man, Personal Securitron. For 3 mana, you can tap it, target opponent gains control of Yes Man, and if they do, you draw 2 cards and put a quest counter on it. Activate only during your turn. Wild card. When Yes Man leaves the battlefield, its owner creates a tapped 1/1 white soldier creature for each quest counter. It's a humble defector with more reward for the owner, because the 1/1s come under the owner's control, so even if it dies on someone else's or leaves the battlefield on someone else's control, it doesn't matter. It might catch people with their pants down because you can only activate it at sorcery speed, so people might like hold on to this thinking they could activate it on someone else's turn and just be hurting themselves. I'm not a fan of hug cards. I'll probably personally never play it. I bought all the commander decks, so I'm going to get a copy of it. I'll just squirreled away for a rainy day in case I ever do feel like playing a hug deck. I don't see myself ever doing it though. Open the vaults. Hell yeah. I love the flavor of this card, and you can't play Fallout with like playing a bunch of cards with the word vault in them. I feel like that's the only reason why it's in here, but maybe it lends itself to the Voltron strategy that is quite prevalent in this set from what I could tell. Sadistic Simulation. You get to tap target creature and put a stun counter on it, and then you get 2 energy. That's the first 2 chapters. And then chapter 3, you pay any amount of energy. If you paid more than 1, shuffle your library, then exile that many cards from your top of your library. You may play only a single card. I don't like this saga. I've seen better. If you could play as many, but
there can be only one.
kind of a bummer. Nick Valentine, the Private Eye. Can't be blocked except by artifact creatures. When Nick Valentine or another artifact creature you control dies, you may investigate. The artifact creature thing kind of narrows this down a lot. I'll be honest, I don't think it's that great of a card. Lord of the Undead's getting a reprint as a Pip-Boy version. I feel like Lord of the Undead's pretty expensive too. It's one of the older lords for zombies. Our cheapest listings for $9. Probably could use a reprint, why not? Liberty Prime Recharged. Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. When it attacks or blocks, sack it unless you pay 2 energy. 2 mana tapping it, you sack and get 2 energy and draw a card. So basically you either have to preemptively already have energy in play to swing with a nice 8/8, or you use it the turn you play it for 2 mana. So that'd be 7 in total without counting tax. to sack another artifact, make 2 energy, and draw a card. I just don't like the hoops in this card. If you're playing the energy thing, then it's fine. But if you have to make energy from itself, it's a bit of a bummer because you want to swing with an 8/8 with trample and haste. You want to take advantage of the haste. And the margins get really slim when you add the 2 mana to the activated ability. I'm not a fan of this card. I could see people disagreeing though. Legate Lanius Caesar's Ace. Decimate. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a 10th of the creatures they control. Well, they haven't made fraction cards in a while. The only thing that comes to mind that might be even playable is Pox. And I see that very rarely. I think it'll make people hate you. Pox makes you sacrifice a third of the creatures in play, makes you discard a third of the cards in hand. I think it also makes you lose a third of your life total. A little math involved in that card. Definitely a little bit of math involved in Legate Lanius. I think when someone plays this, it might take a while for resolution because I don't want to be knocking on people too hard, but I don't think math is everyone's strong suits, even though it's just a 10th.
I'm good with calculation.
Whenever an opponent sacks a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Legate Lanius. Legate can get really big depending on how everyone's boards are looking. There are 3 opponents in a game. They could have a significant amount. Because it's rounded up, even if someone only has 1 creature in play, at the minimum, this is a nice little edict effect that turns your guy into a 5/5. And the bottom ability is static, so even beyond this ETB trigger, every time someone sacks a creature, you get to put a counter on it. Might be more impactful than you think. Pip-Boy 3000. Equip creature attacks, you choose 1. Draw a card, discard. Pick a perk, which is put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, or check the map, untap up to 2 target lands. The cheap to play, cheap to equip is pretty dope. I envision people picking the untapping 2 target lands quite often. And it's also an attack trigger, so you don't have to deal damage with it, but it's like a less valuable Sword of the Animist. On the front end, the floor is really good. On the back end, and like in terms of value and late game potential, this is weaker compared to like tutoring a land out of your library. Because it's so cheap to play, it's got a leg up on Sword of the Animist. It has more flexibility with the other 2 abilities. Pretty cool card. Heroic Intervention. This card, I can't play on my channel that often because it's not $5 or less. I build budget decks so people can afford to play them. I do play some CDH. I do play some very expensive decks. Very rarely though. This seems like one of those cards that will never be in my ideal range of $5. This is the cheapest I've seen in a while. Like, it used to be a $4 card, now it's $8. It's probably because creature decks depend on things like Heroic to keep their game plans alive. They're popular. New Pierce Steel, I have the Ash vs. Evil Dead, so unfortunately I'm not going to replace that with this. This is the next bobblehead. This one also taps her mana, so I guess they all are 3 mana drop rocks with varying activated abilities. This one lets you look at the top X for the number of bobbleheads you control. Then you may cast a spell with mana 3 or less from among them without paying their cost. That's pretty dope. The other one drew a bunch of cards. That was the intelligence one. So got 5 more to look at, as people have corrected me. Because I forgot that there's an acronym. It's special. It's perception is the P in special. Intelligence is the I. I think it's because Bethesda's really kind of pooped the bed when it comes to making the games.
Honestly, it's no problem.
Really? No!
It's fun. They're my sheets.
The last one I played was Fallout 4, and I was a little disappointed in that game. It felt really short. I hope Bethesda in Fallout returns to its former glory. 3-Dog Galaxy News DJ. Whenever you attack, you may pay 2 colorless and sack an aura to attach to 3-Dog, or that was attached to 3-Dog. When you sack an aura this way, for each other attacking creature you control, create a token that's a copy of that aura and attached to that creature. Holy cow. There's some scary auras out there. We already saw the aura from yesterday, which is like the cracked out all that glitters, where it counts all non-land permanents, and then we still have all that glitters, so they all just like feed off of them each other. I think that's the dream setup with 3-Dog here, because you also want a wide board. I imagine there's a lot of brutal auras out there that you don't want to see put on this guy. Kind of does a Zada effect only for auras. Commander Sofia de Guerre. I probably butchered that name, I'm sorry. Enters battlefield, destroy up to 1 target legendary permanent. That permanent's controller gets a junk token. Okay. It's 4 mana. It has flash. It's not very mana efficient, but if you're playing historic decks, you might make room for this because there's not enough historic spells out there that also double as removal. Agent Frake Horrigan. Has indestructible as long as it attacks this turn, so as it attacks, it gains indestructibility. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, proliferate twice. Ooh. That could be kind of scary. It's just a really expensive card for 7 mana. At least it's an 8/6 with evasion, and it protects itself, so it's not bad. At least you're kind of getting what you paid for in terms of mana value. I don't know if it has a place anymore, because Magic's getting so quick. If you want to jam it, you could jam it. It's quite the threat. Preston Garvey Minuteman. Beginning of combat on each turn, create a green aura. Enchantment token named Settlement, attach it up to 1 target land you control. Basically a growth of abundance. And then whenever it attacks, untap each enchant permanent you control. Kind of reminds me of Estrid a little bit. Only it's not as good because Estrid gives totem auras. Is this the same colors as... 3-Dog. All right, so you can play 3-Dog with him. That would be the ideal pairing, because then you give your stuff like pseudo vigilance, and you get to be aggressive and stay shields up. On its own, it doesn't do much. I think it needs a lot of help. I'd rather play DJ over this as my commander any day of the week, though. T45. Baby, that's all we need. Enters the battlefield, get 2 energy. Quick creature gets +3/+3 and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. If your upkeep, you may pay an energy. If you do, untap equipped creature, then put your choice of menace, trample, lifelink. Flavorful of the game because your power suits require a lot of maintenance. As you can see, it's in like the motor pool. At least you'll get 2 things from this, but like if you're playing the Voltron strategy, you'll probably somehow get vigilance on the creature. The energy clause doesn't matter anymore. And then in that scenario, you're putting other significant keywords and giving a significant stat boost. I think this is a pretty good card, pretty dense for what it does. And that brings us to the end of today's spoilers. I hope you all enjoyed. If you stuck around this long, subscribe, because I'm going to talk about all the spoilers from Fallout on a daily basis, and I also do stuff outside of just covering spoilers. I do gameplay, I do deck techs. As you've heard, I build a lot of budget decks, so you as my audience members can afford to build them yourselves. And even though they're on a budget, they're still quite powerful because they're incredibly focused. So everyone take care. Have a great night. Bye.
Thank you.